Welcome to the Marketing Impact Podcast with your host, Mike Wood from Legalmorning.com, providing tips and the latest trends in the world of marketing.
Welcome to the Marketing Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Wood from Legalmorning.com. And today we have a special topic. We're going to be talking about small businesses and website building. With me today is Bob Graham. He's the founder and CEO of Bigger Pie Strategies. Now, those who aren't familiar with Bob, he is a lecturer at Johns Hopkins University, teaches business communication. He also has 2 decades of experience in marketing, public relations, journalism, so a good man for the topic. Now, how are you doing today, Bob?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Mike, and thanks for those kind words.
Hey, no problem. Johns Hopkins, very, very prestigious to be there, so I think the audience is going to get a lot of good information today.
Yes, it is prestigious. Sometimes I have to pinch myself, but it's a great opportunity.
No, excellent. Well, let's get into it right away. I mean, most people clicking on this podcast are looking for the answer. You know, what can small businesses do for a website?
Okay, that's a great question. And there are a couple ways to answer that. So let me start real simply. Most people have the perception that their website is going to be this major marketing thing. And I've had a couple of clients over the years who have said to me, oh, my website's going to go live tomorrow. I have everyone on my staff in working because we expect so many calls and so many emails and so many sales. And the first time that happened, I kind of laughed, and then I started to think about it, and I realized that we often have this faulty belief that our website is going to incredibly change our business landscape. And I think that's where I want to start this discussion, if it's okay with you, which is setting some reality for what a website does for most businesses. And that is really, it's an electronic business card. So, for instance, I have a small business marketing company. Most of my clients are in the Baltimore, Washington area. I do have some people outside that area, but most of what my website does is it gets people who might have heard my name or perhaps they're listening to this podcast and they're multitasking and they're going, oh, Bigger Pie Strategies. Wow, I should check this guy out. They go to my website and they see language and imagery that makes them either feel at home or make them feel like they want to go somewhere else. And when I say at home, I mean in terms of you see people that are similar to who and what you are, because we make a very quick assessment about a website, usually 5 to 8 seconds. We're either in or out. And then, can I afford this service or can I afford this product if you're selling a product? And does this feel like a place where I can accomplish something I'm trying to accomplish? Does that kind of make sense to you, Mike? Does that reconcile with what your experience is?
Absolutely. Agree 100%. A lot of people think, they're going to build the website and they're going to rely on that for all their businesses. They need to realize that a website is basically, it's like a phone book. It's like, anyone that wants more information about you. People aren't necessarily just going to come to your website and spend hours and hours and hours. Truthfully, if you look at my statistics, which I don't share with anybody, the average time on site for me is 2.5 minutes. Now, people who don't have a website are going to say, wow, that's not a lot of time at all. 2.5 minutes on a website is a very good time because you're right.
You're beating me. You're beating me, yes.
Exactly.
And I do know that the average amount of time on sites like the Washington Post or New York Times, they're happy with 6 to 8 minutes.
Absolutely.
And most websites that I work with, we're really pleased when it exceeds a minute and a half. And
Correct.
if you think about it, most websites, you can get through a page on most websites in 20 to 30 seconds, realistically.
Correct.
So I think that's another misconception that, I expect people to come to my website and be on there for 45 minutes. It's just not going to happen. No. The other thing that I will tell you, Mike, that I often deal with is my clients are eager to change their website constantly, which becomes a staffing issue. And for most small businesses, the customer is going to go to the website once or twice. They're not going to go back 3 months later and go, oh, this is the same content that was 3 months ago. It's not going to register that deeply. So I often sort of relieve my clients of the pressure of having to do constant updates every day. My website, if you look at my website, most of the content has not been updated in a fair amount of time because I'm getting new people. Maybe you, Mike, went to my website in the last week or so and looked at it. You're probably not going to go back there again. That's just the reality. Now, you may refer someone to it and say, oh, I talked to this really great guy. You've got to look at his website. You've got to find out about him. He's perfect for you. That person might go to my website. But odds are it's not going to be the same person over and over and over. Maybe if you have a blog, you'll get some people that return, but they're not going to cruise through the whole website.
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And you only have a few seconds to capture them. I mean, if you have to use great calls to action, the layout must be great. And my website, I haven't changed the layout since I started it because I am getting 2.5 minutes per people who come on. And to me, it makes no sense to do any changing if I'm converting. My website looks a little bit older than most of the new themes. But I'm converting, so I leave it how it is. You know, don't touch something that's working.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, and I think it's one of the problems that I have in the marketing industry is a lot of my competitors will call small businesses that have websites and say to them, hey, your website looks like it hasn't been updated in the last 6 months or 9 months or a year and a half. We'd love to redo your website for you. And they often take the bait and spend a lot of money for a new website when the old website was perfectly fine. It's just that company saw an opportunity and the person receiving the call wasn't thinking about the things you and I are discussing today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's talk about pricing because that is, I know, on everyone's mind. Whenever small businesses think, oh, I got to do marketing online, big dollar signs come to their head. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so let me sort of set the stage. You can pay anything that you choose for a website, but the price of websites has gone down precipitously over the last 5 or 10 years. And I will tell you, it all comes down to one word, and that word I'm going to use is WordPress. And WordPress is a platform on which you build a website, and WordPress makes it really easy to do all the things that 10, 15 years ago, you paid $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for someone to create a website. WordPress now is so easy, and I don't know if you use WordPress, Mike, and there are others like it, Joomla, Drupal, Ruby to Rails, or Ruby on Rails. There are a couple other ones, but WordPress is the most prominent one, and I find WordPress is the easiest to teach my clients how to use. And about half the websites being created right now are being created with WordPress. UPS uses it, Reuters News Service, the Washington Post, ESPN, and a bunch of small businesses. And the great thing about WordPress is the pricing for a website can drop down to, I've built people websites for $500, and we're talking 3, 4, 5-page websites, real simple stuff. And the most expensive website I've built has been about $10,000. And that website involved a lot of high-level e-commerce setup to create a sales funnel system that was totally custom built. Now, the average website for a small business, I'm going to put it in the, let's say, $1,500 to $3,000 range would be reasonable in my mind. When I get over $3,000 with my clients, it's usually because we're doing something a little more complicated or exotic. Perhaps we're really integrating social media into it, or we're doing some really cool things with video, or we're trying to get an existing sales functionality to work in the system. It's usually that kind of stuff that drives up the price. And so if you're getting quotes and you see quotes for a small business website that are up over $3,000, you've really got to start taking a hard look. And the other thing I will tell you is, conversely, if you see prices that are feeling like they're too low, I would tell you that that can be a problem as well. And I have some clients who have come to me and said, hey, this feels a little iffy. And what I say to them is, well, ask the person to spec it out and really tell you exactly what they're doing. And when I build a proposal for a website, I am very specific. This is what we're going to do. You're going to have a landing page. It's going to have 2 to 3 images. You're going to write the content. I'm going to write the content. We're going to have a call to action. And I'm as specific as I can be because I want my clients, one, to understand exactly what we're trying to achieve, and two, for them to be invested in the results. And I think one of the things a lot of people struggle with is they hire a web developer who's really good at the technology, but they don't know how to communicate with the client. And my sweet spot is I'm a broker, essentially. I'm the guy who works with the business to help them figure out what it is they want on a website and how to present themselves effectively. And then I broker out I get web developers to work with me, and I talk the web developer language so my clients don't need to. So I'm the middleman making for a happy marriage. And even with that happy marriage, I can do websites at the $1,500 to $3,000, $4,000 range without any problem.
No, that's great because a lot of people will get a proposal from some web developing company and they just don't understand the terminology and the language. So it's great that you're able to break it down for them. Now, I have used Joomla. Nothing wrong with Joomla.
No, and I'm sorry if I implied that was not my intention.
No. What I'm trying to say is there's great website building programs out there.
Yes.
When we talk about WordPress, I cannot stress this enough. WordPress is the platform to develop websites, period. Now, when you talk about cost, you're correct. It wasn't created by a corporation. For those who've never heard of WordPress, it was created by a teenage kid sitting in his house who wanted to build something easier, cheaper, and without having to code. I forgot his name now, but yes, he is.
He succeeded.
Yeah, he did. He succeeded because he basically disruptive technology. He was one of the pioneers of disruptive technology. I use WordPress for my site. All my clients, if I'm creating content for them, I ask them, are you using WordPress? Because if you use WordPress, I can go in and enter the content for you. It's an easy-to-use platform. When it's done, it is one of the most easiest things to use. If you're a small business looking for a website, I would recommend WordPress because it is, once you get used to it, it is one of the most hassle-free platforms to use. And it is, when you talk about the expense, you can get the templates, you can do the customizations. When you get into the real expense, when you're talking about the over $3,000, you're getting into customization that's normally not part of the WordPress theme. So that's the point where you're bringing in a developer to write code and help you. But for the most part, WordPress is great, and no, I'm not being paid by WordPress. I'm one of I'm one of the 50% of people using it, and I guarantee you that if you're listening to this podcast a year from when it was recorded, 2 years from when it was recorded, that number is going to be up to 60, 65, 70%, just because of the ease of use of it. So.
And Mike, if I can just add, one of the really important aspects of WordPress that I think gets lost often is it is mobile responsive, which means what you create in WordPress automatically shows up on whatever mobile device you're using, whether it's an iPad or a Microsoft Surface or another tablet or an iPhone or a Droid phone or a Samsung. It doesn't matter. It is platform agnostic to the user. So I've had a couple of clients say to me, hey, someone wants to build me a mobile website. And I say to them, that's all well and good, but do you really want to operate two websites? Because essentially, if you're buying a separate mobile website, you've got to make the same changes. So if you change your hours from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to 10 to 6, you're going to make that change on two different locations. That, to me, just seems like a lot of hard work. I run a small business myself. I'm never looking for more work. I'm looking for ways to sharpen the saw and be more efficient. So when you tell me it's one platform and I get everything all in one place and it shows up everywhere, that to me is the number one selling tool for a WordPress installation and website. And when I show my clients my website on computer and then I show it to them on my phone and then I show it to them on the iPad, the light bulb goes off. And then when I make a change on my computer and hit update, and then they see the change in those other places within seconds, it does the selling. I rarely have to sell a WordPress website. All I have to do is show people the functionality.
Absolutely, and that's why I use it. I mean, I started it years ago, and when I used the theme, I was one of the first, I guess, responsive theme users out there, and it was just amazing. When it updates, you don't hire a computer programmer. You don't have to spend another $3,000 to get it updated. You just contact your web development company. They'll take care of the plugin updates, the WordPress updates, and everything's good to go. Yeah, you don't have to hit all 3, 4, 5, 6 different platforms. It all translates depending on the browser you use, depending on the device you use. So, yeah, that's great. Now, what are some problems that can come up when developing a website?
Okay. I'm going to go through my list real quick because I know we're short on time, and you can stop me if you want to get into any of them in more detail. First one is, most of the time, people building websites want to build it for themselves, not for their clients. So if you create a website that's perfect for you and how you see your business, it's not going to be as successful as if you build it for your client. And when I say building it for your client, I mean really knowing your client. Like, I want to know my client so well that if someone calls me on the phone, I can discern within the first 30 seconds, is this person a potential client for me? If I go to a networking event, I can pick clients out just by demographics, just by how they act, what they do. I know my client really well, so the language of my website reflects that client. Now, that's a really good thing, too, because it means I don't get a lot of wasted calls. I don't want to spend time talking to someone who might not be my client. That doesn't make sense, nor would you want to, Mike, right?
Absolutely. I don't like it. I don't like answering 100 emails, and 98 of them are, people that aren't going to be able to use my services.
Right. So the more you know your client and the more you can replicate that client. So that means the words have to be your client's words, not your words, not the highfalutin, I'm the greatest marketing person in the world. I simplify things a lot. So instead of talking about WordPress installation, I talk about a simple website development project. I really try to make it so that my clients understand and appreciate it and so that they feel comfortable with me. The next problem I find is many people don't understand their business. They think of their client as anyone who comes in the door. And so the more you can know your business and know what really makes you money, the more you can tailor it. And this is just good business. I mean, yes, this applies to a website. And I find that in doing the website project with a lot of my clients, we end up refining their business as well because they have a new appreciation for how their business operates. But I think that's a good thing. And I think that's part of evolution, that a lot of times we don't know what's working and what's not working. And the more you figure out what's working and you can craft that into your website and your overall marketing, because ideally the language of your website should be what your customers want to hear, what they're talking about, and what you're saying when you're talking to potential clients should match up. So if you go to my website, you're going to see it's very similar in tone and attitude as to what I'm saying to you now. So it feels like Bob on this podcast is Bob on his website. And it's Bob who's at a networking event. And it's even Bob who's at a family event and someone introduces me to someone. You want to have that consistent voice wherever your marketing is. So often when I build websites for clients, we'll use the same marketing in emails, in printed materials, in signage. Once we get that message clear, we use that message over and over and over. And I think that's one of the corollary benefits to having a good website and also, frankly, working with an expert, because I find that I struggle at times with my business and seeing the forest through the trees. So I'm lucky enough to have some people that have helped me. And I try to help my clients understand their business in a way that they may not see because they have the day-to-day concerns. Does that make sense, Mike?
No, absolutely. And to your first point there, you're not purchasing from yourself. You're not your own client. So, I hate my website. let me get that out there. I know I complained earlier. I hate the layout of my website. I mean, it was built years ago. I did it myself, and I see some of these nice looking scrolling websites, and they're beautiful, and I want to upgrade to them so badly, but then I have to keep that first point in mind is I'm not the one buying from me. Other people are buying from me. Other people are coming. They're getting the second point, which is it's the branding. They see it. They're familiar with it. They're familiar with me now. They're familiar with my services, and they're the ones that are coming to me as my clients. That's why I don't change it. It's built for them, not me.
Exactly. And then the other thing, the third biggest problem, or I'm not sure if it's 3 or 4, I lost track, but another big problem is time. I work with folks on building their websites, and they always go in with the best of intentions. Oh, we want this website in 90 days. We want it in 120 days. We want it yesterday. But when we get into the process, they often get slowed down. It moves off the plate. And one of the things I think that I bring to my clients is a reminder that you need to get it done. And often the part that slows down, the couple parts that slow things down the most are getting photographs. That is really difficult for a lot of businesses.
Yes.
And you can use stock photos, and there's ways to do that can be really effective. Or you can get a photographer, or you can even work without images in some ways. We've done that in a couple of cases. But the other thing that slows them down is this feeling of, I don't want to approve the site to go live because I'm afraid it's not perfect.
Yes.
And the reality, as you can imagine, Mike, I'm sure you could go through and nitpick your website, and I could nitpick my website, but we probably could not very well nitpick each other's websites. Absolutely. And I tell my clients and other people all the time, get it out there, let it start, let it roll, and take the feedback and modify it later when the feedback starts coming in. But if you're waiting for your website to be perfect before you launch it, you will never have a website.
Absolutely.
And I also, Mike, I did check this number, and I wanted to put this out there because you may have some small business owners who are saying, I've never had a website. I must be the last company on earth. That's not the case. There's still about 35 to 40% of small businesses do not have websites still. And I just had a client, a law firm, that did not have a website. They're very successful. They've been around since 1991. We will launch their website on January 1st.
Exactly.
So,
and they'll get, get a lot more
it can be done. And so if you're a company out there saying, oh, we missed the boat, it's too late. It's not too late. And in some ways you may have benefited because a lot of companies have spent a lot of money on their websites, and you may be hitting the ideal time to get the most value for the least expense if you're doing your first website. And I think that's sort of counterintuitive, but I just wanted to throw it out there because I'd hate for someone to be listening to this and going, oh, you know what? I missed the boat. This is terrible. I should have done this a long time ago. I'm such an idiot. It's not that at all. You can jump into the game today, tomorrow, or the next day, and it can be a real good step forward.
Correct. And just a couple takeaways from there. I just recently moved to Southern California, and I used Google for everything. If I'm out and about and let's say I go to Target and I find something there, but I need to go and look at it at another store. I pull out Google and I look for that. If your small business don't have a website, I'm not finding it. So if you think you missed the boat, you're not. You need to get out there now, but you didn't miss the boat. I mean, people are out there looking for you and your business. So getting online is going to help bring in those customers. Now, also, I love how you brought up the perfection. When I worked in government regulations, I opened 3 casinos in the Midwest, Native American casinos. And the first one, we had, I want to say, close to 3,000 employees that we needed to do background investigations and licensing for. And it was very stressful. You're working from 6 in the morning till midnight. And then finally, somebody took me aside. They saw how stressed I was, and they looked at me and they said, hey, Mike, this casino is going to open regardless of what you do. It's going to open. And that's something that hit me really, really hard. And at that point, I realized, you can't make everything perfect. And that kind of translates over here. Give yourself a deadline. If you want your website up in 30 days, say, I want it up in 30 days, and stick to that deadline. Use stock photos. If you don't have a photographer that can't come in for 6 weeks, no problem. Use stock photos for now, and then supplement them with the real photos later. If you wanted a 15-page elaborate website, well, that's fine. Why don't you go ahead and start with the 6-page website with the basic information, and about us, a contact, and get it live. Get it up on Google and let Google start indexing it, because it takes a while for Google to realize you're there. It takes a while for them to display you to customers. So you need to get up and get online. And I think a lot of people find out, too, is once they get online, maybe some of the tweaks that they want with the website will change. So just get it up. Don't worry about perfection. Get the website up. Customers aren't going to come to your website and go, well, you know what? I would have done this logo in a little bit different color, so I'm going to click off and use another company. No, they're not going to do that. So if you're in your office, stressing out about that, you're stressing out about the wrong things.
Well, and the other thing I tell people is it's not like a brochure or a book or a newspaper article or business card. You can change it pretty quickly and pretty easily. It's a fluid, moving target. And and I come from a newspaper background, so it's really great to me, because I remember you print the paper, and the minute you had an error in there, you were stuck with it forever.
Because you have the template, the plate. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. You make a mistake, and you can fix it. And with a WordPress site, you yourself could even fix it if you wanted to. So It really is different than what a lot of people are used to. And I think once you accept that reality, it liberates you to say, you know what, I'm just going to try things. And you can play around, and we've done this. I've set up 2 homepages for a website, and we've used one for a week and then the other for a week to see if we get a different result. And we've never had people say, hey, you changed your website. What were you thinking? Exactly. Usually you just see a difference in sales, or Google Analytics tells you that you have more visits or people are on the site longer. So you can do A/B testing, and you can really fiddle with it. And if you put Google Analytics on it, and I recommend that every website have Google Analytics, you can see some trends. And Google Analytics isn't the easiest thing to figure out for most people, but I've found that I can really weed through it and show my clients exactly the value of Google Analytics and what it's saying by reading between the lines. In a way, a lawyer reads a legal document really quickly. So that's one of the things. Another thing I'd say is Google Analytics is really critical. I had a client who we redid his website, and his traffic went way down, like from a couple thousand visits a month to under 100. And we're looking at this going, what is wrong? This is crazy. And then I looked. His previous traffic had been primarily from China. And his new traffic was all in the Baltimore, Washington area, which is where his company is based. And he's a catering company. So you can imagine that catering company with traffic from China, probably not really useful. So the ability to look at those numbers and discern exactly what was happening and where his traffic was coming from, and that under 100 visits a month, but from your target communities, is far greater than 3,000 visits a month, with 99% being outside the country. And I think that was really telling for me. That was the most stark example of where numbers may not be the right answer, and it's about the value of the people coming to your website and what they're doing with you after that. So when I have a new website with clients, it's like, are you getting more calls? Are you getting better calls? Are you getting new emails? Are people starting to react to you in new ways? And is it the way you want? And often they say, oh, yeah, wow, I got a really great call the other day. It's amazing. I don't know where they came from. And I always tell my clients, when we launch a website, start asking people, how did you hear about us? If they were on your website, what are your thoughts about my website? Well, do you like it? Do you dislike it? What worked for you? What didn't work? Where did you click? And I also tell people, business owners, send the website to your employees and have them share it, and share it yourself with your network, because you want as many people as possible to be looking at it and giving you feedback. And the more you share it, the better it's going to be. One, it helps with Google because the more clicks, the quicker Google indexes it, moves it up in the rankings. But more importantly, you start to get really good feedback. And I had, when my website launched, one of my friends said to me, I'm really glad you sent me your website because I really wasn't sure what you did. And now I understand it. And that person has given me several really good leads for business that I don't think would have happened if he hadn't had the ability to look at my website and digest it in his terms without asking me what he probably would have thought were stupid questions. So that's one of the other benefits of going through this process.
No, absolutely. I agree 100% everything you're saying, actually.
Come on, Mike, disagree.
No, I'm trying. I'm trying, Bob, but you're making this too easy for me. These are the same things that I explain to clients when they're asking, what should I do for a website? It's amazing. Anyways, real quickly, let's answer the question for people who are listening to the podcast thinking, okay, website's really great. I'll get onto it eventually, or there's some that are going to say, maybe I should call somebody tomorrow. Where should they put it as far as their in their marketing mix, in their marketing schedule? Out of all the things they're going to be doing for marketing, where should building a website fall?
I've got to say, Mike, and this is probably self-serving because it's what I make money off of, but it's got to be really at the top of the list because I look at the website project as far more than just a website. To me, it's really refining a marketing message that, as I said earlier, you can apply in those other platforms. So let's say you're doing Google AdWords, and let's say you're doing some newspaper advertisements, and maybe you're thinking about doing a video series or something. All those things are better informed once you get that website content worked out. Because if you can convey your story about your business to potential clients on a website, you've got the marketing materials that feed all those other things. So I think it's really at the center of the storm. I also think because we're really close to hitting that point where more people are going to be looking at mobile devices than computers, I think because we're of the generation now, and I still struggle with this, that if I want to find something, I look at it on my phone right now.
Absolutely.
Remember, Mike, when you used to be driving in the car and be like, oh, I heard that on the radio. I got to remember to check it on my desktop when I get to work or when I get home.
Yep.
It's not that anymore. We're checking it. I hate to admit it, but we're doing it at red lights. Some of us are even doing it while we're driving. Or we're doing it when we're in the mall. I was just in the mall doing some shopping, and I checked a price against a store price because it felt iffy to me. So if you're not in the game, the way you're not in the game is by not having a website. Because if you don't have a website, I can't find you. I'm not going to use my yellow pages. I get the yellow pages at my business every year. It goes right in the recycling bin.
Yep.
And I think that's what most people are doing. The internet is where people are going. So if you don't have a presence that you can control, because a lot of people, they'll say, oh, well, I'm in a directory, or the newspaper wrote a story about me, or I did this ad and it's on the internet, or my LinkedIn profile's there. Those are all well and good. But the number one thing I like about my website is I have complete control of that message. Every single word of it I can control. And you can't say that about a newspaper article. You can't say that about a directory listing. You can't say that about other marketing tools. You're fitting into their box. And so your website is where you create the box that you want to be in. And literally the industry you want to be on, who your competitors are by the words you choose and the way you present yourself. And I think that has a real value in making your business stick out in the really competitive world that we have right now.
Yeah, and I always ask clients, I tell them, okay, so you don't have a website, but you have a great Facebook page, great Twitter account. What would happen tomorrow morning if for some reason Facebook decides they're no longer going to allow businesses on Facebook, or for whatever reason they shut your page down?
Or they're going to charge.
Or they start charging.
Because that's the one, Mike, that scares me more than anything else. Because I've got a couple of clients who are living on Facebook and have fought the need to do a website. And I think we're going to hit a day really soon where Facebook or one of these companies says, you know what? We're not making money on these ads. But, boy, if we charge this business that's got 8,000 people and they're doing all their marketing on Facebook.
Correct.
I think you're right. That could be a real chilling effect for business. It would be great for guys like me that build websites, but I would want to be ahead of that, and I would want to be building up my Google ranking long before that day were to come.
Yep. Can I agree with you again? Is that okay?
Mike, only if you can disagree with me about something. So
I'll figure something out here. Now,
throw me a bone to argue with you about. I need to argue.
No, I refer to a website as Cornerstone Content. For those not familiar, Google it, Cornerstone Content. And basically what that means is it's a page where you can direct everyone and everything to. When you start a Facebook page, it's going to ask you to enter your homepage. Well, you're going to need the website to enter that homepage. When you go to a directory listing so people can find you, it's going to ask for your website homepage. When you're talking about looking on your phone, that's exactly my story here from Southern California. I didn't know anything. I only knew things within a 1 block radius of where I lived. So I lived on my phone when I'm out at the store and I'm like, okay, I want something to eat. I go to Google. And I need to be able to find that website, to click on it, find the hours of operation, maybe find the directions, or, find out what it's all about. So and your Facebook page isn't always going to come up that way. The website will if it's done properly. So it's one of the things that I feel you must have in the beginning. I even tell people, okay, you're not opening for 3 or 4 months. Get a 1-page static front page website that says coming soon with an email address or a phone number or even a few sentences about who you are or what you're about, because that'll give Google a chance to start finding you. It'll give people a chance to say, oh, I wonder what this is going to be. Next thing you know, they're talking to their friends. They're driving by, if you're brick and mortar, trying to see exactly what the status is, if it's built, what it's going to be. So, it's very important in my mind to get it up and get it running again, even if it's a 1-page, 2-page site. Get it up and let it start working, and don't worry about perfection.
Mike, guess what drives the most traffic to my website?
I'm not going to say PPC.
Nope, it's LinkedIn.
Wow.
So I get people who trawl LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn, see enough to be interested, see my website, and then go to my website, which is great.
Well, a lead from LinkedIn is the highest quality because people aren't just clicking through LinkedIn randomly. But if you other people who aren't using LinkedIn yet or aren't using it, to their benefit, need to get on it.
We could talk about that for a while too.
I tell you, when I get a lead from LinkedIn, I'm happy. I'm like, okay, it's just, is this going to be closed today? Is this going to be closed by the end of the week? This is someone who knows what I offer, and they're here to do business because they've looked at 4 or 5 other people that offer same or similar services, and they've chose to reach out to me. So,
And so imagine the discussion I have with someone who has not been to my website after LinkedIn versus to my website.
Exactly.
And one of the greatest things I hear, and you may hear this yourself with your website, is someone calls and you're talking to them. Maybe it's a referral, and they're like, oh, yeah, I was looking at your website. I really like how you said this.
Yes.
Or I'm exactly like this person. Like I have a blog, and every now and then I got someone who says, I'm just like that person you were writing about in your blog. And I'm like, yes.
Yes.
That is the deal sealer.
Exactly.
If I can communicate in a way that my client says, or potential client says, yes, people like me, you can help me.
Yes.
That's what the website that's the website at its most perfect form.
Absolutely. And I don't want to get too deep here, but I kind of tailor all my content like you do as well for people who are looking for the answers to those questions, because those are the people who are looking for a service provider. And if you're able to answer the questions that they're facing, you're able to convert them into customers. So, yeah, absolutely. All right, now, as with all guests, Bob, I give them the last minute. So, last word of the podcast. So you get to say anything you want. Again, as long as you're not cursing, I won't cut you off.
Okay.
Anything that you think might be beneficial to the listeners, or anything about yourself or your website that you want to talk about, now's the time.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Mike, and I appreciate that we've agreed on everything, and hopefully I can say something now that's slightly controversial, because as I understand it, you can't argue, so that's a good thing for me, I guess, because I'll win that battle. But I just want to say, if folks out there are having questions about their website or about how to get started, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. I do this a lot. I really enjoy working with folks to help them figure out their marketing, whether it's a website or whether it's integrating website with other things. And even though a lot of my business is based in the communities of Baltimore and Washington, I do have clients all over the country. And so if someone's interested, they can go to my website, www.biggerpiestrategies.com. It's BIGGERPIE strategies, and that's STRATEGIS.com, or they can email me at bob@biggerpiestrategies, or you can also do that old thing that we call the telephone and call me at 410-497-7030. And I also, Mike, I really like to put something out there for people if they're kind enough to listen this long. I always like to make a little free offer. So I have a ebook that I put together called Easy Recipes for Effective Small Business Marketing. And these are literally 10 or 12 simple things that any small business can do to improve their marketing. And I had a friend of mine use this book and follow all the things, and he told me he spent less than $20, and he saw a real improvement in his marketing. There's some really simple things, everything from how to craft a name tag that's going to get you noticed when you're out networking, to ways to handle your phone so you're not constantly answering the phone, but you're still being successful with your business. So if someone is interested in that book, that ebook, I'll give to them for free. They can email me at bob@biggerpiestrategies.com, and I will get that off to them right away. No cost. Just put in the subject line podcast, and I will know it's from here. And then I can tell Mike that not only did he and I agree, but people actually listened to the end.
Exactly. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to include all this information.
Oh, good. I made you laugh. That's
exactly. Now, I'm going to include all the information on the website as well. I'll have Bob's contact information as well as the address to the ebook. Very good ebook. It kind of combines a little bit of the PR, guerrilla PR, marketing, guerrilla marketing, and it really and I'm telling you, once you read it, you'll appreciate it. Very, very simple things to do, very cost effective. So it's biggerpiestrategies.com/easy recipes, or you can email them. You can also email me and say, hey, what's the guy from Johns Hopkins University? Oh, Bob Graham. Yeah, here we go. And I'll forward the information to him as well. Now, again, Bob, I really appreciate you being on today. It was great. This is a lot of good information for those who are looking or wondering if they should jump into the world of website building. Do you watch football?
I do.
Who's your favorite team?
Well, it's the Baltimore Ravens, but we're having kind of a tough year because we've lost 18 of our starters. The good thing about it now, Mike, is when I watch the games now, it's like watching a team from Israel or, Pakistan, because I have no idea the names of the players. It's like, what?
Yeah.
52. Who's that now?
I had to ask you that because I knew we were going to agree again. I grew up in southwest Michigan, and before I moved here, I lived a block away from, about a mile or two away from Notre Dame Stadium. So I grew up with Jimmy Clausen. Okay. Now, I love Jimmy Clausen to death. Jimmy is great. And I mean, I literally watched him grow up from, 170-pound kid who looked like he was malnourished all the way up to, 210-pound second-round draft pick. And Jimmy Clausen just made it to the Baltimore Ravens, was cut by Chicago Bears and started the last 2 games for Baltimore. Now, Jimmy's good. So, yeah.
Jimmy needs to grow up some more.
A little bit, but I'm telling you, if he's given the opportunity to grow up, you will see a big change. You will see a big change, and I think Baltimore will really appreciate his work. So, all right,
I will. I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm going to withhold judgment. You're pushing me as far to the edge of disagreement as I could possibly be.
Exactly. I can't argue with Baltimore Ravens fans because I will tell you this. Out of all the fair weather fans in the NFL, Baltimore Ravens are on the other spectrum. Baltimore Ravens are the only fans who can only win 3 games in a season and won't wear bags on their heads when they go to the stands. So very loyal fans.
It's amazing. We watch the game still. I mean, there is absolutely no reason to watch a game right now. And I've got people in my neighborhood who they were getting their chores done on Sunday so they could watch the 1:00 game.
Exactly.
And they talk about it still. I mean, it's really important. It's funny.
Yes, no. I did not realize how much that was until about 4 weeks ago when my loyalty switched from Chicago Bears to Baltimore Ravens. And I'm reading, I'm watching, I'm listening to the announcers, and it was just unbelievable how the fans are. So if that tells you anything about Bob being a Baltimore Raven fan, that should help make your decision on checking out Bigger Pie Strategies. But all right, Bob. Well, again, thank you for being on. For those listening, this is Mike Wood from Legalmorning.com for Marketing Impact. Again, you can check out more information on the website, Legalmorning.com. You can search Bigger Pie Strategies in the search engine, Bob Graham, or just search through the podcast blog. Try to find the one sheet for this. Until next time, I'm Mike Wood.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Impact Podcast. For a copy of the information from this podcast, please go to legalmorning.com and click the podcast tab. Until next time.